So you said you didn't have a lot of words the other day. I guess, did you meet with the team? Did you talk about anything?
No, we had an off day yesterday. We'll go at 1:30 today, and obviously adjust the schedule because of the weather. But really, moved on to what's ahead of us. And you guys have heard me talk about that a lot in the college baseball season. Really, in baseball, you have to master the ability to move forward. And is my position as a leader. Obviously, I analyze it all and analyze everything. I think the good thing about young people, young players, is they have a good ability to do that, and I'll rely on that with our team. And we'll certainly kind of learn the lesson from the other day, but leave the moment.
What do y'all expect to face this weekend?
Yeah, great talented team. Obviously, have been for several years now. I'd just say kind of the simplest form: big arms, big bats. They on the pitching side, they do what they do really well, and I mean that guy by guy. Offensively, they can really drive the baseball, and physical nature, and how they play offense.
How are you preparing your pitching staff to throw off the power hitters?
Just again, it's one of those questions. I think I actually had a question like this on the radio the other night, and it's one of the things I love about coaching here. So people have so much interest in the game plan, but I'm not a very good coach if I give away the game plan before the game starts, so I can't answer that. But it's really fundamentals. We've got to attack the zone. Got to throw multiple pitches for strikes, execute locations, and really what I would say to that is good pitching beats good hitting, and we need our pitchers to be themselves. And much like I just said about their team, our guys do what they do very well, at least the guys that, throw the majority of the innings. And so we'll rely on that this weekend.
You talk about attacking the zone. That's been somewhat of an issue for the bullpen, I guess. How do you see it? Is it an issue of them trying to be too fine, or is it?
Yeah, I think it's guy by guy. And, I think sometimes baseball is a little different because at one time it's one player doing that, whereas on defense you might have, in football, complementary play, the secondary linebackers front. It's a little different, for each guy. I certainly feel like there's room to grow for several pitchers on the staff, and we'll keep chipping away at that. I think we've had good growth with several pitchers on the staff. I think in totality of the season, we have been successful from the mound. But we want to keep getting better. And, I think some of it might be game experience, some of it might be mental game, some of it might just be command delivery. But, I think, I like how we've improved. The other night was kind of a tough night in that. And, really, I'll even go back to Saturday's game. I felt like we needed to win the game like 10-7. On Saturday. Like 7 was kind of a number I had in my mind, but I thought those guys did a pretty good job of holding it down until the 9th, and we gave up the 2. So it's something I really believe is, when you're going good and you've won 17 in a row or 26 of 28 like this team did, it's never quite as good as it seems. And when you have a really tough game on Tuesday, loss on Saturday, it's not quite as bad as it seems, and that's not deflecting anything because we dive into how we play really hard. So I think it's guy by guy. I think there's been some improvement, and we just got to keep chipping away because there's guys that a lot of talent that can help us a little bit more.
How do you go about sort of imparting those lessons from that game if you're also not willing to go back to that game at least too much? Like, how do you sort of with this case in particular?
Well, I think there's a psychology to that. Like the old school come in here and say this is unacceptable and you guys are worthless and all that is not going to work. It's not going to work. Case in point is 2024. That's what everybody probably thought I should do, and I did the opposite of that. I coached baseball. My staff coached baseball. And we won 22 of 29 games. And you can't be a prisoner to feelings, good or bad, in this game because it takes you away from execution. So, as I said, learn the lessons, okay, and then leave the moment. and then live in the next moment. And that's about preparing for this weekend. So my belief is, a bad game or a bad couple games doesn't have anything to do with the next game or next pitch unless the player or the staff lets it. And I'm making a conscious decision that I'm not going to do that because I can't have our players do that. One of the things that I think we can improve on as a team, and this is very common in baseball, every player has gone through this, is not let one failure in an at-bat, a mound outing, affect the next one. And that's when you transition from being a boy to being a man, and we all go through adversity in life and, have a family member die. And then, I think true toughness is when you show up when things aren't great. And that's what I want our team to do. And I think they can do that. And so I think it's exactly as I said. Learn the lessons. I have a way of doing that. It's probably more one-on-one in this case than a team thing. And then learn from it and then move forward.
I don't want to say you want to suck the emotion out of the team or anything like that, but it sounds like a lot of, like, if we were really to boil down some of this approach, it would be take the emotion out of a bad loss or a great win and to sort of just keep on going with that consistency day in and day out. Is that sort of a way to sort of describe the approach, or am I oversimplifying here?
I think I want our guys to be excited about the opportunities that they have, and I think it's been something that's been maybe a trademark of LSU baseball, at least from the outside appearance prior to me even getting here, is like, and I see like highlights up on the board of past sometimes, and guys really playing with emotion. You know what I mean? A positive emotion. There's a walk-off homer in one of the postseason games. I don't even know who hit it, but obviously that's an exciting moment. There's like an outfielder diving for a catch, giving a fist bump or something like that on one of the pre-games. Warren Morris was obviously excited when he hit a walk-off home run in the College World Series. Like, that's a trademark from it. There's one of Chris Stanfield, like sliding in at home, and that guy plays with such great energy. Like, I want him to have that. Like that, if this is no fun, there's no point in doing it. So I think it's okay to play with emotion, the right kind of emotion. I don't think it's not okay, but if you get emotional, that's going to disrupt what you need to do to play at your best. And so that's maybe what I'm trying to say.
Is it a concern with Tennessee and we have a big personality type team coming in as far as like controlling your emotions if things get interesting?
I can only speak to when I've been here. I've seen none of that. I see a good baseball team, good baseball program, and I think we've played 10 times, and it's been really, really good baseball. A couple times in Omaha, once in an SEC championship game. So I can't really comment on that because there's so many teams and good teams. Like, it's just not a thing.
We talked to Connor here in a few minutes. What did you like about his start and just what he was able to do on the mound in that role for you guys last weekend?
I thought he did a good job. I really believe he's a good pitcher and has a good future ahead of him. I think he's different than a lot of the guys we have, and sometimes that can add value. And he'll certainly be a part of this weekend. I'm glad we got 6 days to recover. For him, that's important. So he'll be a part of it. I don't know in what capacity just yet, but I really like it when he's out there, and I think he's trending in a good direction.
Do you have a starting rotation set for this weekend?
Yeah, we announced it. We're going to go Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday we'll leave as a TBA right now. Is it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah.
On my days, yeah. Okay, all right.
Coach,
We-
game one, versus Anderson,
Yeah.
the best aces in the country.
Yeah.
Expect a pitching duel despite both of y'all being great hitting teams?
Yeah, you would think so. Just from, good pitching usually beats good hitting. It's the nature of baseball. What I would say is if you're a baseball fan, if you're a pitching fan, if you're a left-handed pitching fan, like this is one of those really cool games, to buckle up for. And, what I like about our players is sometimes, when you get a good challenge like this, it's typically brought out the best in them. And that's usually a trademark of good competitors. But, I mean, that's every week in this deal, man. It's literally 10 super regionals. And like I said, there's 15 teams in contention for the NCAA tournament right now to 16. That's amazing. That's amazing. And I've never seen it before. We probably will see it again, only relative to baseball in the SEC.
How's Ashton Larson doing?
You know, he swung the bat yesterday fine. He did some running, so I think way more positive than negative with that. He's a tough kid. He's got really strong legs, really strong legs. I don't have the date on this, but if we were just going pure like old school football squat, he'd be like on the higher end, top 5 on the team. And he's just he's a tough kid too. So, I mean, he seemed real positive yesterday when I saw him here in the facility, even though it was an off day, and just asked how he was doing. He's good.
What's he specifically doing?
Well, he hurt his quad in the game on Tuesday. Yeah, running, legging out a double.
Jared took that weird step the first time.
Yeah, I think he's okay. I saw him yesterday too here, and he's smiling and didn't really.
You kind of gave your reasoning there for third, but we're going to talk to Mike. I guess just is his defense invaluable at this point in the season?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. That, like I said, we've been behind in 4 games, and we've shifted to do that to try to catch up, and we came back and won 2 of those games. And I thought he actually handled himself at third base in those opportunities that he got in those 4 games well. Wanted to try to provide a spark by getting all of the guys in the lineup that you want to try, because you can't get all of them in there just with positional limitations, and it didn't work. And, I accept that, and, there's really not a whole lot else to say. It obviously impacted the game in a big way on Tuesday.
But is it almost frustrating not to be able to put Ethan, Josh, and Jake in the line at the same time because of some of those positional limitations?
Well, it's no. I mean, it is what it is, and I will say this: we played our team wrong the other day. This year, we've played our team right way more often than we haven't. But it's a painful lesson. I tell this to the team is we want to have as much inexpensive experience as we possibly can, and losing a game to me is expensive. Is it fatal? No, it's not. But I would never undermine or hurt our team's ability to win with any decision that I think I make, and that didn't work, and so we will go forward with the only time we will do that is if we're chasing runs, and then the offensive matchups dictate us doing that for a short period of the game. Otherwise, we'll play our team right like we have for most of the season.
What's the idea that Mike got hot last year late?
Yeah, he's playing good right now too. I think he's taking good at bats. I think I talked about you can't allow maybe a bad performance to affect the next performance. I'm really proud of him in the baseball sense. He got off to a little bit of a tough start, but it's kind of like he did last year, and he's just kind of kept competing. And his presence in the box right now is really strong. And he has qualities as a player, and he has limitations as a player, just like everybody else. But he's just in there competing in the moment, and he's a really good defender. Obviously, it's not many teams probably even have 2 SEC caliber shortstops on the left side of the infield. We do, and so we need to lean into that and use that to our advantage.
Because these 2 programs have played each other the last couple of years on the biggest of stages. Does that organically create a rivalry? It's kind of hard to have those in college baseball.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I'm not going to make that decision for what anybody else labels it. I think it's a great program, and I enjoy competing against them. I'm sure our players do. But we have 3 more after this, in preseason #1 team, team that I think Arkansas is maybe #1. I don't even know. I don't look at that stuff. And then South Carolina is a national championship program too. So, and then you go to the SEC tournament, and all 16 of us are there. So I don't look at it that way. It's for us, again, it's never about who we play. It's about how we play. And I just think all the extra stuff is great for you guys. It allows you to have jobs. And so I'm for it because it allows you guys to work and do something that you love. It doesn't have anything to, I mean that too. I think it's awesome, but it really doesn't have anything to do with what actually happens on the field.
Do you feel it from the fans? Do you hear from
Not really, other than they won the national championship, and we did the year before, and that was pretty fun. Like, I want to do that every year, So, I mean, I think that's cool, I think it's cool that, and I don't know if this is the case, but, somebody told me, like, we were 1-2 in the country since I've been here in wins. And so you put back-to-back national champions, those quality things, like, it feels like one of those things, like, I'll just use college football. If there was a college baseball game day, they'd probably be here. That's awesome, and I think that's really cool for our players. And if it lifts them up, awesome. I feel like this team has done good with those types of things. And we didn't, for instance, LSU Texas, like high level programs, the best Omaha appearances, all those things, big brands. We went in there and we played the best game of the year that Friday night. And then we had the lead and we lost, and then we lost a tough series on the road. But if you were at that series, I would think you would go high-level baseball. On the road, at Oklahoma, top 10 team, responded to the challenge. Last weekend, it's not football, but there's, because of football, people are probably into the LSU Alabama thing. Okay, 1-2 out of 3. Riley Quick in that series is throwing 100 miles an hour, and we got him out of the game. With only 9 or 10 outs. So hopefully that type of stuff helps them play at our best. I don't think it matters, but if it fuels them, great.
Should there be a college baseball game day?
Man, I got so much to do to get this program where we all want it to be. Like, I think it'd be cool. I think there's an appetite for college baseball like there's never been. The pro baseball thing has really changed. It's not just the SEC or investments. It's like it's never been harder to get drafted because of the contraction of the minor leagues. So you just have old players in college baseball, which makes it better quality of play. I mean, you look at Luis Hernandez, transferring here with all the experience he has, Chris Stanfield, a guy like Braswell. I mean, that's all over the league. I mean, like, the Derek Carriel, Kason Evans, William Schmidt thing ain't out there. It's not out there. I mean, try to dig on the teams that we've played. It's not out there. So the quality of this is awesome. The interest in it is awesome. Thank you guys. You have a big part in that. And so I think it could be cool, but I'll let somebody else tackle that.
Anything you see in Steven's game maybe help improve this?
Yeah, I think he's played exceptional defense for the entire season, and that's the main thing that we need him to do. We've obviously seen the quality of hitter, basically game-winning home run last weekend. I think, baseball's his life. I think we can relate well together. Because that's how I feel about succeeding at this and helping our players succeed at this. And sometimes when you care about it so much, like the emotional energy that takes, especially when you're playing the most demanding position on the field, and a bat or a game, can kind of get away from you if you get outside of, hey man, that's just what I need to do to execute. And if he just does what he needs to do to execute, he's so skilled, he'll get back on track quickly.
Ideally, how do you use Calvin this weekend? What do you hope to get out of it?
Just if there's ever a player that just needs to be themselves and execute, it's him. We'll see. The series will kind of dictate that. Or the games, I guess, will dictate that.
With Cowan and Evans, do you think it's probably not a coincidence that two of your best relievers have the two best changeups on the team, right? I mean, like that pitch has become such a weapon for them, and not a lot of their opponents see it. So, like, it's not a coincidence that their best off speed is that pitch.
I think that's part of it, just under the assumption that hitting's about timing, pitching's about disrupting timing. Timing is correlated to how well you see the ball, and they have an ability to create deception in hitters. They also throw all their pitches for strikes, and the more that you do that, the more doubt that you put in the hitter, and then it makes it hard for them to get a really good swing off. So, but that's certainly part of it.
Do you have any relationship with Tony outside of meetings or something?
I just respect them and respect their program. You're not very smart baseball person if you don't. They've recruited at a high level, and it's like I said, this will be an awesome. mentioned Cade and Doyle, pitching against each other, but it's like so many good players on the field, this weekend. And it'll be the same next weekend when we go to A&M, and the same Arkansas, and nobody's doing this right now anywhere else in the country. I think it makes awesome. But I respect them very much.
Do you have conversations with your team about just kind of how the next 3 or 4 weeks kind of determine where you guys could potentially finish, whether it's coasting or
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all out there. I mean, to this point, we've earned the right to at least play the first one at home, but there's so much ahead of us. Like, if you start adding that to trying to go execute against left-hander going 96 to 98 with 4 pitches, like, it ain't happening. So, like, I'm not helping my team if I bring that into the equation.
Offensively, how do you sort of try to get you guys back to where you were maybe a month ago, while also game plan for maybe the best pitcher you'll face all year?
I think it's about tomorrow, and it's about there's toughness in the bats. Like, you take the quality of pitching that we see, that makes it hard. Baseball in general is hard from an offensive perspective. And then that's where the plan and the strong mental game and all those things, living in the moment, are so important, because if you add a problem there, now you've made it impossible. And, like, it's our hitter's choice to go in the box with a clear mind, with a competitive attitude, and compete, knowing that dude's probably going to – well, the game can't end unless we get out 27 times, so that's probably going to happen. So there's no sense in getting frustrated. Can we make it harder on a pitcher like this? And I think this team has probably done that. Like, we only won 2-1 against Pico Khan, but he was out after 5. Because we took really good caliber at bats against him. It's kind of the same thing.
On Tuesday, was it the mental aspect that you were the most disappointed in, or was it just when something went wrong and you guys just weren't able to, like, just overcome it?
I feel like I answered that question on Tuesday, and I just would revert to what I said on Tuesday.
You talked about being positive. Do you remind the guys you're pretty good? I mean, is that like a messaging that's out there, or is it?
Well, I believe that they know that they are. I do believe confidence is an important part of this thing, and in different ways with different guys, and sometimes as a group. It's my job to build confidence. And, I heard a really high-level coach say this, and I can't remember who, whether it was football or baseball, like, one of the most important jobs that we have is to build self-esteem in our players. But you have to do that authentically, because they're very smart, and they know if they're lying to you, that you're lying to them. And I don't do that. I don't do that. It doesn't mean I'm negative, but I'm very straightforward in that regard. But I think they would say that they know that their coaching staff's behind them. In a couple tough games when you're 34-8 is a first world problem. It is. It's like, honestly. So it's our choice to handle it the right way and play. And there's gonna be another bump or two. Like, it's just the way that it is. You choose how you show up, and their coach and their coaches will show up, ready to help them win in every way possible, and I believe they believe in themselves, and again, hopefully it's something that makes us better, as painful as it is.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.